Andrea, thank you for taking the time to do this interview. We know you are busy because you and Hannah Storm are doing this game for Amazon Prime, which I'm so excited about to have two females doing a broadcast in sports. I mean, you guys are pioneers in this industry in many different ways, and I'm really excited to have you on to kind of break down this matchup, talk about some of the highlights we can expect, some of the storylines to follow as we go into this rescheduled Monday night kind of primetime game of 5 o'clock kick, something we don't see too often. But Andrea, you've been covering the sport for so long, so you've seen the Bills, you've seen the Chiefs through so many different regimes, so many different head coaches, and now most recently we have Sean McDermott and Andy Reid heading up both teams. Sean, of course, coming from Andy Reid's coaching tree when he was back for the Philadelphia Eagles for quite some time, where he got his true really first start in the NFL underneath Andy Reid. But as you look at these two teams and kind of how they've built their franchises under their quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, you know, Mahomes was drafted in 2017 and the Chiefs kind of built their offense around him and most recently really added to their defense. And the Bills are a little bit different in that they drafted Josh and they already had a pretty strong defense, but now have most recently put those offensive pieces around Josh Allen to make him the weapon that he is. So what strikes you most about both teams and how they've really built towards success in the last couple years since drafting those quarterbacks?
Well, Maddy, it's great to be on with you, and great to be back in Western New York, so to speak, where I covered 4 straight AFC championships, 3 of which were in Buffalo, and I remember those days well. And I think that this current incarnation of the Bills team certainly aspires to that kind of excellence and consistency, and looks like they're on their way. The blip, if it is a blip, against Tennessee notwithstanding. But you broke down quite a bit of the team building that's gone on. I think that you mentioned the Andy Reid tree, and people talk about Bill Walsh tree, and obviously Andy is still a part of that, but Andy has put 10 head coaches into the National Football League at one point or another. And it's quite a legacy that he has. It's something that's extremely important to him. And one of the reasons is because he is just the supreme teacher, which you hear this about head coaches quite a bit, but the best ones really are that, in my opinion. And the team building is just, it's such a huge thing. It's never about just one player. The idea of, oh, he's the final piece. Well, no. And especially in the age of free agency, and especially, truthfully, in the age of COVID, team building is more important and more challenging, harder than ever, when the idea of just bringing up these players from practice squad up until 90 minutes before the game. I mean, there's so many more decisions that have to be made. But look, the Bills obviously have spent all these years trying to replace the Hall of Famer, trying to replace Jim Kelly. And just talk to the Miami Dolphins. It ain't an easy task to replace a Hall of Famer. Obviously they've been trying to replace Dan Marino since he retired. Jim retired obviously after the 96 season. So, finding the quarterback is the most key piece. But then it's, the great coaches are the ones that come in, they assess their personnel, and they try to do what's best for that skill set. It's not, this is the offense I'm running or this is the defense I'm running. If anything, personnel and coaching have to be so aligned that the personnel people know exactly what the coaches want. They know what to look for in the personnel and bring in the perfect people. And that's certainly what the Bills have started to do, what Brandon Beane and what Sean McDermott are doing. Obviously, there's going to be a defensive orientation because of Sean's background, but you got to start with the quarterback. And certainly they have the pieces in place with Josh Allen. And I think he's had a pretty dramatic development. Listen, 50-50 drafting a first round quarterback for his success rate. And we that is, so it is far from a fait accompli. You bring the guy in, but he has to be developed. And part of that development is surrounding him with the right people. And really, Maddy, it's surrounding him with the right offensive line for starters. Because just, look at Joe Burrow right now in Cincinnati, and, are we seeing, the reincarnation of David Carr, a player who has almost really destroyed his rookie year just because he was sacked so much. So, the importance of building around the quarterback is huge, and certainly the Bills are well on their way with that. And I love the Stephon Diggs acquisition.
Me too. It served these Buffalo Bills right in the last couple games, seeing what Stephon Diggs has been able to do, especially in the game against the Titans, where it didn't seem like Josh was connecting with many receivers. He was the one guy that Josh could really go to and targeted him quite a bit in that Tennessee Titans game. All right, so the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs are both coming off losses. They're 4-1 heading into week 6. Now, the Chiefs dropped a game against the Raiders, a team that the Buffalo Bills have already beat. And the Bills dropped a game against a Tennessee Titans team who had little prep going into the game due to their COVID outbreak that they experienced. What does each team need to look out for playing against a team who is hungry and ready to go out there and beat the other team, because they're coming off of losses that honestly probably both teams didn't expect?
Yeah, I think it's in some ways it makes the matchup even more intriguing. Prior to the week 5 games, it was, are these the top 2 teams in the AFC? And now it's okay, these teams are coming off bitter losses that, as you point out, were not expected. And I think that listen, was there a little bit of overlooking by the Bills looking ahead to the Chiefs? I want to hope not, because it's not like the Titans are pushovers. They were in the AFC Championship game last year. So as the Bills now face the 2 AFC title contenders in back-to-back weeks, I think that, you hear this all the time, and it is such a cliche, but it is true, which is you got to get that taste out of your mouth. And then look at the Chiefs. They haven't lost since last November, 13-game winning streak. So, it's definitely a motivational call for the Chiefs. We've seen for them the past 2 weeks, between the Patriots and the Raiders, what they did defensively against this seemingly unstoppable Chiefs offense. Well, maybe the Chiefs offense, does have some Achilles heels. And, the blueprint's been there. And here's the deal. Teams are copycat. It's just that simple. And they're going to run it until they stop it. So, they see what the blueprint is. Sean is a tremendous defensive mind. It's not, there's no great secrets here about what you can try to do against the Chiefs defensively. Now, whether or not they can execute it or not is another thing, because getting pressure, really getting pressure with a 3 and 4 man line is key, and not having to rely on the blitz. It's just so huge. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is really going to kill you with the blitz. So I think that, the blueprint is there. I think that the Chiefs definitely got a wake-up call, because they were not expecting to lose to a team that they had dominated so much in the Raiders. And then as for the Bills, look, they want to still prove that they belong in the elite conversation in the conference. And what's funny, Maddy? Typically, you're sitting here. I mean, look, 4-1 is a great record, and you never want to sort of project too far down the line, but this is 2020, and throw everything that has been normal out the window. You don't know how many games ultimately teams are going to play. And the reality is that with the additional playoff game, remembering that there are not 2 byes, that only one team in the conference is going to get a bye, every single game is so vital. And listen, you got a couple 4-1 teams. Ravens are sitting there at 4-1. Of course, every win matters in the National Football League, but I just think it's amped up even more this season, which puts more emphasis and attention on this game.
Definitely. There's so much attention on this game, and the fact that it's on a Monday night, I mean, Thursday night or Monday night, there's going to be eyes on a game like this, especially with the success that both teams have had last season going into this season. I mean, you have these premier quarterbacks in Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But speaking of the Bills' offense, they're going up against a Chiefs defense who has really gotten stronger in the last 2 years and really showed it towards the end of last season, having a player like Tyrann Mathieu with the versatility that he offers. What do you think this Bills offense really needs to do? What muscle do they need to flex to be able to throw off a Chiefs defense who has gotten stronger over the last couple months?
Get the ball out. End of story. Next question. No, Josh Allen can't hold the ball, in my opinion. You got to get the ball out, make quick decisions. It's interesting talking to Patrick Mahomes, and he says, listen, my mentality is always looking for that deep shot. I want that deep shot, and he's got the weapons to get the ball downfield in Tyreek Hill. But he said, sometimes I have to go against my nature and realize just dump it off. Live for another play. Don't take the sack. Certainly don't turn the ball over. Just get the ball out. And I think in some ways, that's what Josh Allen has to do as well. Arguably the strongest arm in the league, can fire the ball in there. We know that. Loves the deep ball. But at this point, it's same thing. Get the ball out quick. 1, 2, 3, drop. 1, 2, 3, read. Don't sit there. Don't go back there. Try to wait to find the perfect play, to see the perfect read, because you're waiting 4 or 5 seconds and your offensive line isn't going to be able to do that for you. And that's where mistakes happen, because that's when, whether you're a quarterback who's under pressure or you're a defensive back, once you start getting desperate, that's when mistakes get made. So I think really in some respects, it's kind of mirror images for both teams is get the ball out quick, and really, don't have any ego about working the ball down the field. It doesn't always. And of course, if you continue to do that, if you do little chunks here and there, I kind of hate the expression dink and dunk, because it's got such a bad connotation to it. But the reality is if you do it, those deep shots will be there, because sooner or later, you're going to get those safeties that are going to creep up, especially, by the way, running games. We can have a running game with Devin Singletary. We need more than 25 yards. So again, get the defenses, get the Tyrann Mathieu, as you point out, to start creeping up. And then if you don't have a single high safety back there, that's when you can really try to exploit the deep ball, Josh Allen, and that how it serve an arm.
Yeah, our offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, has definitely said that we need to get Devin Singletary going a little bit more. They played against a running defense in the Titans this past week that wasn't that great in rushing defense. They ranked towards the bottom of the league. The Chiefs also ranked towards the bottom of the league in rushing defense too. So it'll be interesting to see if they can finally get that running back going. I mean, he's so talented, had a great year his rookie season and what he averaged yards per carry wise. But Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, these two quarterbacks, I think we've seen a similar athleticism in each of them. They each have something that their strengths lie in. I mean, with Josh, it's the deep ball. With Patrick Mahomes, it's those no-look sidearm throws that nobody can defend. Just watching these two quarterbacks over the last couple of years, Andrea, what do you see as some similarities and differences in the way that they play the game?
Yeah, and one other thing to add, Maddy, which I think is interesting and really bears watching, is teams go in, and a lot of the philosophy has been ball control. Patrick Mahomes can't hurt you if he's sitting on the sidelines. So it'll be very interesting with an explosive offense like the Bills have. Do they go in thinking we can match you score for score, or we do want to try to dominate the time of possession? We do want to control the ball and keep him on the sidelines. This is where I kind of hope that these young guns don't sort of say, all right, well, we're quarterbacks. We don't really play against each other, but they are competitive with each other, if you know what I mean. Look, I think the biggest difference which I think it's overlooked quite a bit with Patrick Mahomes, is he sat for almost his entire rookie season.
Mm.
And that's almost unheard of in the National Football League anymore. I mean, look at all these first round quarterbacks that have played, if not starting from moment one, they've come in very, very early. Justin Herbert this year. I mean, Tyrod Taylor started, and then for different reasons, Herbert comes in, and he's not gonna be relinquishing that spot anytime soon. So Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith his entire rookie year. And, looking back, you can sit there and say, oh my God, how could you, that's like keeping the stallion in the stable and holding him back. I think it was masterful for Andy Reid to do that. And Patrick Mahomes will tell you, look, he started a totally meaningless game in week 17 of his rookie season. But I think that he would point to that year as being so integral to his growth as a quarterback, learned so much. Obviously, Josh comes in, in a different situation. And I think that sort of starts their trajectories in different ways. I also think that what you have, not that I don't think Patrick Mahomes would have excelled with any other coach, but what you have with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid is really a generational matchup, a generational, marriage, if you will, because, I've joked with Andy, there's always sort of this stereotype of, oh, the coach is out and, he's out to dinner with his wife and he pulls out a cocktail napkin and he's drawing X's and O's on the napkin because he just thought of this idea. And I said to him, I go, oh my God, you literally have the X's and O's to be able to execute whatever crazy, zany plays you come up with. I mean, the creativity match of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, to me, is just fascinating to watch. He can come up with anything and Patrick can execute it. And he's got, between Kelsey and obviously and Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins is injured, but just all these weapons, it's amazing what they can execute. And, I don't necessarily see that level of creativity in Buffalo, but, Josh has his own style of offense that obviously is suitable to him. It goes back to what we talked about earlier. You got to be able to sit there and say, not I want to run my system, but I want to run the system that is most suited to the personnel that I have.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's very similar about both of these quarterbacks is the fact that Patrick has had Andy Reid since he's gotten into the league. And Josh has had Sean McDermott and Brian Daboll since he's gotten into the league. I think when you have these young quarterbacks that have your offensive play caller with you, kind of breeding you and taking you into those first couple seasons, it really helps to have that type of continuity. And we've seen the continuity that both of these teams have with entering into the 2020 season and into a season that has so much uncertainty. To have some of the same offensive weapons around you, whether it's on offense or even on defense, has suited these teams very well with the way they've started this season's 4-1 going into this one.
Right, absolutely. I think it's a great point because that you cannot overstate the importance of having that comfort level. It's just that simple. And, it's interesting. I hearken back to conversations I've had over the years with like Ron Rivera when he came into Carolina, and he came in, defensive minded coach, but he came in with Cam Newton. And I talked to him about that one time and he goes, the head coach and the quarterback are tethered at the hip. And when you come in together, you literally grow up together in the offense, in the system. And even if, I'm never calling plays, which he isn't, just like Sean isn't, it's still, they are, as one goes, the other goes. It's just that simple. And yeah, I think that the continuity aspect is a great point. And then I love, the two weapons that each team added, and they're very different, obviously, with Stephon Diggs. And, I was talking to Jim Kelly the other day, and he made the analogy of when those great Bills teams got James Lofton and added it to Andre Reed and Don Beebe. And now you look at the Chiefs, Andy Reid in 22 years of coaching has never drafted a running back in the first round. And he's had some good running backs in his career. and they're sitting there, and there's, you know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which is unbelievable. You're sitting there going, can the rich really get richer like this? Because this is just such an additional weapon for their offense. So I do love, you know, it comes back to the team building, which we started our conversation talking about. I love these additional pieces that each team has added.
We'll see if these additional pieces can have a part and be an important aspect of the game on Monday night. Andrea, thank you so much for the time. It'll be an exciting matchup with these two teams both leading their divisions, and a lot of promise for what they could be in the coming weeks as you enter the middle and the bottom half of the season.
Thank you so much, Maddy. It's great to talk to you. And for your listeners out there, we want to remind you that, you know, if Maddy and I were just sort of sitting around having a beer or having an iced tea, we'd be having these same conversations. So we're just, you all are just lucky that we're letting you in on it right with us right now. But in all sincerity, thank you so much. Above all, to you and to all the listeners, stay healthy and safe. And we look forward to, we're not sure what we're going to call it, Thursday night special on Amazon Prime, a Monday version. We're not sure. It's 2020, anything goes. So thank you so much, Maddy. Great to talk to you.
That is so true. Yeah, go ahead and watch it on Amazon Prime. It'll be a great one to tune in for.